Electile dysfunction 2016 coverage continues with Democrats criticizing Hillary Clinton, and they couldn't be more wrong, which is difficult because there are a lot of justifiable reasons to criticize Hillary Clinton. They found one that is not justifiable. So what they believe is going on is that Hillary Clinton is becoming too much of a goddamned liberal. Now, while Obama has endorsed a $10.10 hourly rate minimum, Clinton has signaled support for more than doubling it to $15 an hour. So liberal. Clinton says same-sex marriage should be a constitutional right and endorsed Obama's executive action shielding millions of illegal immigrants from deportation. She wants broad reform of a criminal justice system and calls for automatic voter registration. Liberal, liberal, and liberal. They have a point so far. And so some of these centrist, we'll say centrist, I would say center-right at best, Democrats are saying that she is going too far too early in the primary season and she is going to turn off those who are not strong liberals, and she's going to have a harder time in the general election, and she's going to turn off people who might otherwise support either her or down-ballot Democrats in other races. We're going to have some of that criticism in just a minute. What's your initial take? Is Hillary Clinton too liberal?
Okay, well, it's amazing what mainstream media considers too liberal. For instance, Howard Feynman said yesterday on the Chris Hardball show that if Hillary Clinton needs to go against her constituency, meaning Wall Street, she needs to go against them from the left. And maybe that will, and I'm like, that's considered liberal because she's going to go after Wall Street? So I did some checking. And did you know in a poll from 2013 that 96% of Americans wanted, quote, more regulation on the financial services and products industries?
But what percentage of those 96% had given millions of dollars to political candidates?
So
probably a low percentage.
Probably. So according to the Beltway media, the New York Times, the Washington Post, and all the jagoffs on TV, if you do something that has broad support from Republicans, Democrats, and independents, that's a little too liberal for them. So that's what they're talking about. Look at what she's put. And you know what? Nobody ever says the opposite, John. Nobody ever says, why aren't the Republicans reaching out to blacks and Hispanics and the gays and the union workers? Where are the Republicans' outreach to these people? You fucking never hear that.
We say it.
It's only when Hillary's got to run to the center, even though.
Why does she have to run to the center?
By the way,
why?
But they consider running to the left, taking on Wall Street, which is not left.
It's not left at all. That's a good point. Yeah.
Being for the minimum wage, it has Republican support. It's not left. So the things that she's for is not left.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you could talk about some of the other things that we mentioned, like same-sex marriage. That now has majority support. You can still, I'm a liberal. If you want to say it's a liberal position and it's also a popular position, I don't mind those two things being melded together. But you can't say that she's crazy left when the majority of the country, who I've been raised to believe is conservative as shit, also thinks that gays should be able to marry. That's not a crazy liberal position.
That's not. Well, this is what we're saying. And, John, we've done stories about this on the show before. When Americans are polled about issues, they're overwhelmingly liberal.
Yeah.
But when you ask them, they think, I'm conservative because of the media telling them that they're conservative.
Exactly.
And they're not.
Yeah, and being told at the same time that liberals are awful people.
Yes.
Even though they are actually liberal. Yeah. And so this is what's going on today, that they are trying to push her back to the right. We have seen some movement from her, perhaps in response to Elizabeth Warren, perhaps in response to Bernie Sanders, whereas she is staking out some liberal positions, but that does not mean that she is some kind of crazy wide-eyed progressive or anything. I mean, if we want to talk about, again, Wall Street, if we want to talk about her foreign policy, this is not Dennis Kucinich with longer hair. And they need to remember that. Now, I want to give you an example of what I was talking about. This is John Tester, Senator of Montana, saying it's important that she has an economic platform that people can get on board with, regardless of what state they live in. Here's the thing. You could do that with a liberal economic platform that would be widely embraced by the vast majority of Americans. But I don't think that's what John Tester means there.
No, I don't know. What he means is more oil subsidies, I guess.
Not raising any taxes.
And less regulation on Wall Street, even though if he polled his own constituency, he would find out that they're overwhelmingly for it.
Yeah.
So I don't know when he says a broad economic, what does that mean? Does that mean being anti-union? Is that what he means? Because then you're not a Democrat.
Yeah.
So then you should go to be a Republican.
Yeah.
But you know what? People, again, when polled, people are liberal, and this is just some more. John Tester, I'm sure, takes lots of money from Wall Street. I'm sure he takes lots of money from the military-industrial complex. I'm sure he takes lots of money from the oil and gas. And so he's not speaking about the people. He's speaking about what their bubble is.
Yeah.
And in their bubble, going after Wall Street is liberal.
Yeah. Now, there is one sort of, I don't even know if I qualify as an attack on her, but that I do believe has some merit, possibly. Some were alarmed when the New York Times reported that she is discarding the nationwide electoral strategy that her husband employed in the 1990s to win southern states such as Arkansas, Georgia, Kentucky, Louisiana, and Tennessee. And they point out that with John Kerry and Al Gore, when they focused more on swing states, which is what we just apparently believe in the last few decades, that's all you're supposed to do is focus on swing states, that you will not do as well. And I think there's possibly some wisdom to that. I don't think that she should avoid going to those states, even if she doesn't think that she has the chance Bill did to win in some of those states. It does help other Democrats running in senatorial races, gubernatorial races, congressional races, like state legislative races. We need to win those as well. And having her show, you don't think she should show up there?
I don't think it helps. Whatever they want her to do.
If she's popular, I think it could help.
Well, yeah. I'm not saying she should show up everywhere, but she shouldn't change her message.
Yes,
right?
no, I'm not saying she should change her message. I'm saying that she should be an unabashed liberal and go to those places and tell them this is how they can benefit these southern states. These southern states who are being raped by having Republicans controlling them for so many decades.
Yes, so she needs to go and give the liberal message, which is actually a populist message now, so it would get a lot of traction. Again, people are for gay marriage. People are for the minimum wage. People want to regulate Wall Street. People are sick and tired of spending trillions on wars to fight imaginary foes.
Yeah.
So if she showed up, but here, people, they wanted her to do the strategy like Bill Clinton because he was so successful, never got a majority of the votes in America. He never got, it was because, am I wrong? Was it Ross Perot made him president twice?
Yeah.
And then he did such a good job of bringing people together that they fucking impeached him.
Yeah.
People forget that. Mr. Get Along to Go Along, Mr. Bill Clinton, who worked well with Newt Gingrich to reform welfare, and we handed off a surplus, they impeached him.
Yeah.
So let's not forget that. Let's remember that.
They've actually comparatively been quite nice to Obama, I guess.
Oh, they've been great to him. Yeah, they love Democrats.
Yeah. I want her to take that populist message that you're talking about. I don't know that I trust her to deliver it, though. So perhaps she could send Bernie Sanders and then we could elect him. That would be a good strategy. Maybe she'd be willing to do that. Now, I don't know if it's because of these criticisms that the centrist Democrats are lobbing at her, or perhaps it is because of people like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, but her support with Democrats dropped 9 points since just April. Only 42% of people say that she's honest and trustworthy, perhaps because Fox News spends 8 hours a day trying to convince people that she's not. But even more striking is that Clinton has lost support amongst Democrats. I don't think that that's particularly striking. She, for a long time, was the presumptive nominee with no challenger whatsoever. Now she has a challenger. She's going to lose some support. That shouldn't be too striking. But interestingly, Bill de Blasio, who's a somewhat popular Democrat, mayor of New York City, says that he's not going to show up at her sort of campaign launch-off events in New York City when she comes. He says, "I've been very impressed by the comments she's given so far on a host of issues, but what I am waiting to hear about is the fight against income inequality, how we raise wages and benefits." And he went on to say that I've very much enjoyed what I've heard from Bernie Sanders on these topics. And I thought that was quite interesting. Perhaps she should take that advice and change her message as well.
Let's remember the most liberal president we ever had was FDR, and the American people loved him so much they elected him till he died in office.
Yeah.
They would have elected him still today.
Yeah.
Because his programs worked. A liberal agenda works. It helps lift the middle class and the poor and the rich.
Yeah.
So a strong middle class economy helps everybody. What doesn't help everybody is supply side economics, trickle down, which concentrates wealth in the hands of a few people. So now that money is stagnant and it doesn't get circulated in our economy, which hurts our economy. Let's remember, corporations are making record profits right now. Wall Street is also breaking records. Meanwhile, 50% of all wage earners earn less than $30,000. So there's a problem in our system, in our economic system in America, where the people who generate profits aren't sharing in them, and that's been happening since we elected Ronald Reagan, coincidentally.
Yeah.
So she needs to go with a populist message, which happens to be liberal at the same time. But people are on board, and she's going to, you know what, they get such horrible... John Kerry and Al Gore lost. First of all, Al Gore didn't lose. Second of all,
that's a good
John
point
Kerry
as well.
lost because he was a horrible candidate. He was a bad campaigner. He's a bad everything. And you know what? Hillary Clinton also a bad campaigner. So she might have the exact same response from people that John Kerry got and Al Gore got. She's not a good campaigner. People don't connect with her. It seems like she's trying to invent issues that she cares about because of Bernie Sanders.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, look, at least she is staking out the correct positions on those They are manufactured, but they're right, largely. Like, I don't believe her necessarily, but I'd prefer that if she's going to lie liberally.
Yeah, lie liberally,
Yeah,
I
no
guess.
conservative lies.